Could have hit him harder, I would definitely have done that. Sitting there looking like he's carrying the weight of the world. I'm a player, and everyone knows that. I don't like that. If I hit someone, I want them to try to hit me back. I've always said I don't play for the money.
What would need to happen in the world or in Russia for you to return to finish your career in the KHL?
First of all, the war would have to end.
It's 6:30 in the morning, we're already in the gym. You have your own playlist here, right?
Yeah, I'm the DJ.
Oh, really?
In all the teams I've been on, I've acted as a DJ. I love music. I love finding tracks to play for the guys.
You know, I think the coach really needs an iPad as a gift. He looks really tired.
Yeah, it's been already like 5 years since guys were bugging him to install some decent speakers.
Is this his gym?
Yeah,
He owns it?
He fully owns it himself.
His gym? Seriously?
Yeah.
What's the most you've done on a deadlift for one rep?
600 pounds, but I don't usually do it. And we saw someone on ESPN lifting, some weightlifter, and I never do deadlifts. So I just decided to try and see how much I could lift. I got 600 on my first try.
Was that your max?
No, I wasn't even training for it.
So you had more in the tank?
Well, if I worked on it for a week or two, I could probably hit 700, theoretically.
What about bench press? Sorry, sir, I mean squats.
I haven't done them.
Never done them, not once. Moving from one gym to another today.
Oh. Hey. Hello.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Mike.
Jenna.
Nice to meet
You
you.
guys here to see Jenna for treatment?
Yeah.
I will give you $1. Are you the patient? If you let me have your appointment, I'll give you $1. A whole green dollar.
I'm closing this.
Yes.
$1? You mean 1,000?
Why do they place the cups like in general?
Jenna, why are you cupping? What's the benefits of it?
Well, I would say, like, with massage therapy and Graston and all of that is usually a lot of compression. But with cupping, it's the one therapy that you can do decompression. So it lifts, like, the first layer of skin and fascia to allow for a greater blood flow. Close. Open.
Well, Terminator, feeling
Yeah.
better?
No, my jaw is totally tight here, and it's
Is
crooked
it really the
because of
case
it.
that your jaw
It's
is
broken,
like that?
yeah. It's all locked up here, right here. Everything is super sensitive. Very sensitive.
Where did it crack now? In your back?
No, that's my groin. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
How are you feeling?
all good.
You born anew?
Like a newborn baby, yeah.
Nice. So would you recommend these kind of procedures?
Yeah, definitely you need to do it, especially with heavy loads because your muscles get tight and it's bad when they do. Then other muscles start overworking, which can lead to injuries. This way, everything gets balanced and you can start loading yourself up again and get tight again. It's like a cycle.
By the way, Nikita, since Calgary and after our last episode, did your car collection change? Is it true you got a Rolls-Royce for the playoffs?
Yeah,
For free?
yeah.
For advertising?
Not even for advertising.
So they just gave you a Rolls in Vancouver?
Yeah, yeah.
Which one?
I think it's called Cullinan, the SUV Rolls-Royce.
And how do you like the Rolls?
Well, once you drive a Rolls-Royce, you don't really want to drive anything else. You know?
Even to get in, yeah?
Yeah.
Is Rolls-Royce your level?
Top tier, yeah.
How about Cadillac?
Cadillac is actually the best thing for kids, for family. It's amazing.
So here we are, all sweaty, in a new Caddy.
Yeah, well, okay, you go take a shower, you step outside, and it's like 100 degrees.
Yeah.
Or what, like 35 Celsius, and you start sweating right away. But if you eat right, your sweat doesn't smell much, so I can live with that. Well, at least my wife tells me I don't stink.
It's cool that in Vancouver they just give you Rolls-Royce just like that. It's pretty unique, I think.
Well, okay.
But only in Vancouver, I think, really.
Well, you just need to know how to communicate. So, yeah, like, initially, when I got traded, I mean, either your agent or someone finds these deals for you, especially in Canada. All these guys have free cars. Usually the deal is that you give out a few tickets for the season, a few jerseys, maybe you do like an hour of advertising, an autograph session for an hour, wherever they want. Basically, that is what you have to do for the car.
Okay, so what do you think of Cadillac overall?
Cadillac is awesome. It's family friendly, it's safe, big, comfortable. It is great value for money.
So your wife has a Bentley. Is that like a thank you since you're driving a Cadillac and she's driving a Bentley?
Well, I used to drive Rolls-Royce, you know.
So Sasha's kind of hard on you.
Sasha, yeah, she doesn't let me drive her car at all. She's like, nope, sorry.
Do you actually drive her Bentley from time to time?
Nah, you know, in our family, everything that's mine is shared, and everything that's hers is hers.
I got it, she's got you beat. During the interview, you mentioned that in order to live comfortably, purely on your investments made throughout your career, you need to keep playing a bit longer. Now you've signed a new contract, and by the time it expires, that need probably won't exist anymore. Can you now relax and focus solely on hockey and, well, continue living normally?
Well, comfortably, it depends on how much money one needs. Each person has their own demands, their own ambitions, right? I think it's a good starting capital, won't you agree?
So you could say that it's not the final point. It's
No,
just...
of course not. Hockey is just one of the chapters of my life, and I want to continue developing further as an individual. You can't be playing hockey until you're 60. I have a goal to win the Stanley Cup. I'll do everything to reach it and to achieve it. I've worked all my life and earned this contract now, so now I'm receiving well-deserved money, and this money will help me continue my mission, so to speak. You know what I mean?
He curled back. Here's the shot. Scores! Nikita Zadorov scores!
Cool.
Would you say this season has been the best of your career so far?
Each season has its own best aspects. I think I've had 3 really good seasons lately, and they were all different. Last year, for example, I scored 14 goals, which is tough for a defenseman, especially without much power play time. It was all 5-on-5. When I assess my season, it's important for me that my team makes it to the playoffs and has at least a chance to compete for the Stanley Cup, to actually fight for it. I think reaching the second round, going to Game 7, and losing to a team that played a Game 7 in the playoffs, it's still a pretty good achievement, a valuable experience for us as a team, and for me personally.
But you can't quite say the season was the best.
Well, I can. I mean, I aim for every season to be the best one in my career, so it's a step-by-step thing, yeah.
Okay, if we call it the best, could we say it was driven by necessity? Like, with this inner voice saying, Nikita, it's contract time, you need to earn a new one, prove yourself? Or was it like the result of, I don't know, gradual and steady work that finally came through and, well, manifested in your playoff performance this year?
There's always some pressure from the contract, and you know why you are playing and what you are playing for. You're not just out there messing around. They pay you a lot for it, and you need to earn that. I definitely knew that this season was crucial for me because I wanted to sign a long-term deal with good money to settle down for 5 or 6 years. That was definitely a goal going into the season, but I don't think that this was my only motivation.
Are you a leader because, well, you're big, can fight, and, well, people are a bit afraid of you? Like, if someone disagrees with you, might get punched. Or is it because you genuinely have certain qualities?
I think leadership qualities are in your genes. genes. It's something you're born with.
There was this moment about 2 years ago when you hit Alexander Ovechkin, and it was pretty gentlemanly, in fact. You could have gone much harder and, let's say, really taken him out. So this raises a few questions for me. First, is there a certain reverence on the ice for legends and other star players?
No. I hit him as hard as I could. I
Really?
couldn't have hit him harder. I didn't have more speed. I hit him with everything I had.
Because on the video, it looked like you could have hit him harder, but
No.
chose not to.
If I could have hit him harder, I would definitely have done that.
So it doesn't matter who stands in front of you.
No.
Do you even have time to process that during the game? Do you realize you were going to hit Ovechkin?
Yeah.
Did he say anything to you after
Yeah.
that? What did he say?
Let's not make it public. But it wasn't something negative.
Not negative.
Not negative.
But he was swearing, right?
He tried to hit me back afterwards, but it's cool. Why not? I think he enjoys it too. There are players who like that. Some players are up for a hit. It's emotions. I love when people show their emotions. I don't like passive players. Say you hit them and they close off and stop playing. I don't like that. If I hit someone, I want them to try to hit me back in the next shift. That's the thrill.
When you went to hit him, did you realize it was Avi?
Well, of course. I know he's a left winger. I ended up on the right. In my first year in Colorado, in my third year in the league, I really leveled someone from Anaheim. And then their entire team was after me for a couple of games.
Still, I'm curious how you feel. I mean, do you have that feeling when, something turns out well and you're like, yes, I'm satisfied. This is really cool. Do you experience such feelings when you think about the agreement you signed this year?
It hasn't changed me, honestly. I don't know. I didn't feel it. I thought I would feel that way. I thought I would somehow relax. But it's the opposite, Something made me relax a bit because I always, let's say for the last 3 or 4 years, I had thought in my head that I need to earn a good contract. It's my contract here now. I need to play well. It makes sense, right? It occurs to everyone normally. You kind of motivate yourself. Now the motivation has changed a bit. Earlier the motivation was not only to win but also to sign a good contract. Now that's gone. And what drives me now is that I must focus on helping the team win the Stanley Cup.
But do you have that feeling that, for example, okay, it's great, but if at that moment I had done this instead of that, or somehow changed a certain decision, I could have, let's say, gotten even more. Are you feeling this sort of dissatisfaction? Or are you completely...
There's no dissatisfaction, but such thoughts still cross one's mind. Like, if I hadn't signed the trade from Colorado, I might have already won the cup, So... that kind of thought occurs, yes, and if I hadn't messed around the first 5 years in the NHL, I might have already earned 150 million. That kind of thought occurs too, but you can't change that anymore. It is what it is. I can focus on today, and I learn from my mistakes to never make them again.
What do you mean by messing around, as you say, in terms of what?
Well, in terms of professionalism, preparation, in terms of the game itself and preparation for the game, I think I just got a bit unlucky because Buffalo drafted me, and in my first 2 years, Buffalo was the worst team in the league. Then I got traded to Colorado, and for the first 2 years there, we were also the worst team in the league. So for my first 4 years, I was on bad teams and we were losing a lot with no real leaders to look up to or learn from. Coaches were constantly changing and each one had their own quirks, so it was quite challenging, Sure, MacKinnon is different now. I learned a lot from him in my last 4 years in Colorado, but in the beginning he was just a young guy too, figuring things out for himself, It took me a while to mature, to learn. I pick up some things quickly in life, but it took a lot of time to understand the preparation process and mental readiness for the game so that I wouldn't have constant setbacks.
What would need to happen in the world or in Russia for you to return to finish your career in the KHL?
I won't lie and say I haven't thought about it, but I don't know. I haven't found an answer yet. First of all, the war would have to end. Change. That's what our country needs right now, and it will help a lot because, honestly, everything is being plundered and soon it will all be gone. We could end up setting ourselves back 300 years because of how much this regime and this war are pushing our country backwards.
Nikita, when Panarin gave essentially his latest, not to say last, but let's say latest resonant interview, I think it was to Sports.ru, you said the following: I would also be hurt if no one stood up for me. After your interview, did anyone stand up for you? For example, like you did at the time for Panarin. Because as far as I know, you supported him with a post and wrote him personally.
I don't remember really, maybe. If I said that before, then that's how it is, yeah. Well, you mean supported like publicly? Well, you saw everything. Did someone support me? I can't recall off the top of my head. Not a single person at all? Well, then no one supported me. I just, well, you're the only one, right? Well, maybe. Yeah, you're in the same boat as me, so what? There was nothing to lose.
Did that upset you somehow?
That you supported me? Very much.
That only I did at that moment?
I was really hoping, but only Chekas did. Damn, like, I wasn't expecting any reaction, actually, and wasn't particularly hoping either.
Your interview and Panarin's interview, if you break down the details, they're both very honest and open interviews. Yes, you both speak the truth as you see it, and the essence itself is very similar. And I think if Artem was still giving interviews, he might even add some of the points from yours that he didn't touch on before, and he'd have more to say on the situation, like in general. But there is one difference, because Artem has this image of a regular common guy from Korkino, people still love him afterward, but for some reason, they treat you with this kind of ostracism, like burn him at the stake, he's a bad hockey player, this Zadorov guy is just bad overall. What do you think? With essentially the same kinds of interviews, and points made in general, to say the least, one becomes something of a, well, not national hero, but rather a beloved figure, and the other just doesn't.
Well, he does go to Russia anyway, participates in some charity games there, and I think he even has a summer school over there, so maybe that plays a role. And because I'm here, overseas, supposedly not giving anything back to the country, people don't see me much. Maybe that's the case, or maybe, it's because he's Artemi Panarin and I'm Nikita Zadorov. He's 15 goals better as a hockey player than I am. He's a star, one of the best Russian players in the NHL and one of the top players in the world. Maybe people overlook certain things because he brings it on the ice. Well, I play for teams that Russian fans don't really follow and support, so I'm more in the background, or they look at my stats, see that I don't score a lot of points and think I'm just a clumsy player. I haven't really thought much about it. But honestly, it doesn't matter to me. Like, as I said, I haven't really thought about it. You asked, and that's just what came to my mind.
Well, regular fans who don't personally know you, or say Sergachev, see this. The media often shares specific jabs or jokes from Mikhail about you. He never misses a chance to poke fun about your suits, about how you talk a lot. There was even something about jerseys and LGBT stuff, but there's never any punchlines or comebacks from you in return. People sometimes wonder if there's something behind it, or if in reality you and Mikhail are on very good terms.
People love to make up stories and stir up drama for the sake of hype. I think it's all blown out of proportion. He made a couple of jokes, so what? Am I supposed to get offended, or what? I never take offense at humor aimed at me. I actually believe that humor and laughter extend life and demonstrates a person's intelligence level. It's all about timing and knowing what to say. It's great for living life. It's fun. I like such people, really. So, it's all exaggerated.
Last summer, Misha also did an interview, also with a well-known journalist. It got about 10 times fewer views, but still, did you watch it?
No.
You didn't watch it.
Nah, I didn't. I only watched one of his interviews with Forbes, that's it. There's so much out there to watch right now. I just never got around to it. Maybe someday I will.
Suitcase. That's what they call players who frequently change teams. You've been in the league for 12 seasons, changed 6 teams, and been a part of 3 trades. When someone calls you a suitcase, it can come off as either a playful nickname or with a slightly pokey, negative connotation. Does it bother you when people say Zadorov, he's just a suitcase?
Well, it's true, isn't it? The guys on the team joke about it, but no, it doesn't bother me. You have to look at it individually, you know? Buffalo wanted O'Reilly, Colorado wanted Zadorov. There was a trade. What could I do? With Colorado, I later asked for a trade myself, which I think was the wrong decision. In Chicago, there was a sex scandal, and Stan had to revamp the team to show the owner he could still make things happen, but he got fired 3 weeks later anyway, right? I just got caught up in that mess in Chicago. In Calgary, we hit a dead end, and the team went in a different direction, rebuilding or whatever. I'm a player, and everyone knows that. I need to play in April, that's non-debatable, so they traded me to a playoff team. In Vancouver, it just worked out that way.
Living with instability is undoubtedly, tough to say the least. We know it's constant moving and stress, you have to change schools and homes and all that, but what are the positives of a life in instability?
I've seen so many cities, so many teams, and met so many people. It's actually great. It's life experience anyway. They say everything is known by comparison. You compare organizations, training, teams, coaches, what works, where, how things operate. That experience isn't going anywhere, and I hope it helps me in the future, somehow leading to victories.
So, as you mentioned, when you reach your peak, or when you're close to it, you calm down and might start to lose a bit of momentum. Now you have this 6-year contract, and you know you'll play through your prime and will earn your money. Yes, you want the cup, and you want it really bad, but do you think you might start feeling like, it's all good now, it can take it easy,
Well, I
can
want to sign
relax?
for another 6 years after this.
You mean the next contract?
Yeah.
That'll be, you'll be
35.
35, yeah?
But so what? Kristian signed for 6 years, why can't I? Maybe I'll win 1 cup in the next 6 years and want to win the second one. That's another motivation. Or I might set a goal to play at a high level until I'm 40. That's another motivation. You can find a million motivations. It depends on your mentality. You set your own values. Maybe I'll win 2 cups, get tired of hockey, and move on to something else entirely.
Okay, so the main priority was the cup.
Yeah.
And you had offers that were financially bigger, but shorter in term. Or offers that were bigger both in terms of money and length. And it's interesting because 3 years ago when we met in Moscow and you were signing with Chicago, people were saying, that Zadorov guy overestimates himself. He's not worth that money. And now you're willing to pass on an extra $10 million just for a chance to lift the cup. That's really significant.
I've always said I don't play for the money. The cup is the main goal right now, as it has always been. Early in your career, you are focused on proving yourself as a player, signing a good contract, but once you've had several contracts and know you are in good demand, you start setting other priorities. Looking at 2 years back, I had a good playoff run with Calgary against Dallas, then played a lot against Edmonton, averaging around 20 minutes a game. When I became a free agent, I had 1 offer from a team initially. We dragged it out, they withdrew, and in the end, I had no offers at all, so I had to return to Calgary. But now I had offers from 20 teams. It's really a matter of luck, and it depends on whether the teams have the money. With the cap not increasing and COVID messing everything up, teams just didn't have the funds. They couldn't fit me into their rosters. Players in the 3.5 to 5 million range had their contracts squeezed. I mean, top players still got their money, but many others had to settle for minimum deals. You need luck, timing, and alignment for everything to fall into place so you can get the right contract. Yeah, I did have big offers. They were from mid-table teams that had already been through their winning phase or were in a sort of semi-rebuilt mode. There's no point in going to those teams for more money when you're focused on giving yourself the best chance to win the Stanley Cup.
Do you think you'll able to deliver even better results next year?
Results depend on various factors. Sometimes things just go in, sometimes the guys make great plays. It really depends on the team, on who you are up against. I still see myself as a playoff player, and I believe I play my best hockey in the playoffs. I've been through 5 playoff runs, and I've got a lot of experience, about 60 or 65 games, if I recall correctly. Each playoff game is like 50 regular season games, because you learn so much, you feel so many emotions, and you go through so much. It's like a drug. You just want to play hockey more and more and more.
If we set aside the typical phrases and focus on specific areas of your game, which improvements could help you reach a significantly higher level?
It's all about consistency. That's the key. If I can be consistent, if I don't dip in some games, both physically and mentally, then there will be no stopping for me. It's just, I have games where I'm the best player on the ice from both teams, and then there are games where I'm the worst player on the ice. That shouldn't happen. I'm working on it. A lot of it is in my head, like I said, driven by my emotions. I'm learning how to manage them, stay emotionally engaged, be ready for every game, and maintain motivation.
For example, if we look at MacKinnon's career from the start, when he was drafted, everyone had high hopes that he'd be like a savior to Colorado, which was struggling back then. People thought he'd come in and change everything immediately, but when he came, he struggled for the first year, for 2 years, and even 3 years. His rookie contract was ending, and it seemed like his next contract was almost given as an advance.
Right.
He signed that contract, and it looked like something needed to change. And in our community, I shared this story about how MacKinnon and Crosby and your current teammate Marchand are all fellow countrymen, born around the same area.
Yeah.
And at one point, they came together for a joint camp, hired a trainer, Andy O'Brien, and started working together. If you look at Marchand's stats, for example, or MacKinnon's, they just skyrocketed. There was this insane exponential growth in points and goals and assists. So Crosby took on this mentorship role with them, and that's how it looks, at least.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. The difference between Nate and Connor comes down to mentality. As I mentioned in a previous interview, Nate doesn't take a day off, and he means it. Like, as he says, he might eat a pizza once a year as a cheat meal. It's about total, absolute commitment, a solid one. You have to invest all your time and energy into what you do. Nate has that mentality, which is what makes him better. I think Connor has more natural talent than Nate, but with Nate's mentality and leadership qualities, it puts him ahead.
It seems like you and MacKinnon share a similar mentality in that you both hate losing and are always looking for ways to improve. To become better. You're very similar in this regard. Was that something you picked up from him over those 3 years, or is it a mentality you already shared?
I learned a lot from him. It was during my time in Colorado, but I think it took me another 2 or 3 years after Colorado to really understand what I'd learned and put it into practice. I'm still learning, still searching for that perfect balance, and trying to improve every day to maintain a consistent level as a hockey player in every game, every practice, and as an individual too.
First of all, you're in your prime right now, okay? You've got your experience, your age, and a good sense of the game. Secondly, the aging curve for defensemen is a bit gentler than for forwards. And thirdly, you were never the type to rack up 80 points in a season. So even if you're scoring dips, it's not gonna be a huge deal, I'd say. And of course, overall, yes, maybe you're not putting up a ton of points on the ice, but as we heard from your teammates during the playoffs, like Vasily Podkolzin, who joined us on the podcast, they say you have this great quality. You're the heart of the team. People say that when Zadorov is in the locker room, he really brings it. Can you explain what you bring to the locker room, what your role is there?
Well, I am very emotional, and before every game, I really enjoy it. I try to always get out there and win, especially in the playoffs. It's a thrill. I always try to install that confidence in the guys, particularly the younger players in Vancouver. They needed it. Some of them would go out there feeling nervous, or things just wouldn't go their way and they couldn't score. It's important to help them overcome that, and I want them to play well, and I want our team to perform well overall.
Do you have any thoughts on why things didn't work out for Vasily Podkolzin in Vancouver?
It's tough mentally. I mean, if he makes a mistake, it really affects him. I was like that too. Meaning, I think he might benefit from working with a sports psychologist and understanding that he wasn't drafted in the top 10 for nothing. He's in the NHL for a reason. Everyone knows what kind of player he is and what he can be. And he needs to stop overthinking and getting in his own head. Sometimes he'd be so hard on himself, sitting there looking like he's carrying the weight of the world. Personally, I didn't like that, and I would often tell him, "You are playing in the NHL. Smile, man. Yeah, it's tough, but you have to enjoy the challenge when it's tough." And I'm sure if he can learn to do that, then he will be fine.
Well, as I see it, MacKinnon invests some crazy amounts of money in himself.
Well,
and
compared
things
to
that he...
basketball players or American football players, it's
Well,
not that much.
I mean, we're
LeBron
not-
James spends $2 million a year, right?
Sure, we're not comparing on that level, but I mean specifically in hockey.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, even with all due respect to McDavid, and we all know he's an incredible player, I personally don't know a single player, not even close, who spends such amounts of money on a personal chef, for example. When I found out recently that he takes around 40 supplements, has his own chef, and so on, it's his routine. He even has a specialist who comes to work with him on his
He
movement
doesn't just
mechanics.
visit, he actually lives with him. MacKinnon pays him $1,000 a
And
day.
he also helps the whole Colorado team, right?
He's
Setting
the best.
things
I
up
learned
for
a lot
them.
from him too. Since Nate brought him in, I was really lucky to work with him, with this physiotherapist. He's a total guru, to say the least. He taught me so much, gave me a lot of advice, and even now he recommends people for me to work with as I move from city to city, team to team. He knows which doctors to go to, which to avoid, and is always on top of new recovery techniques and approaches, and I rely on him a lot.
Give us a quick rundown of your current routine. How does your day start? Like today, for example.
Well, I wake up, grab a glass of water, drink it, and have an energy drink. Then I get here, get some exercise in, some working out now. Usually, even when I go to the gym, my workout starts at 6:30 a.m., so I wake up at around 5:45, take 15 minutes to get ready, and leave by 6. It takes me 30 minutes to get to the gym. I either work out in the gym or here. Then I have breakfast. I've got a personal chef here who brings me meals twice a week on Wednesdays and Mondays. The food is all prepped and stored in containers in the fridge, so all I need
What
is
kind
to
of
heat
meals
it
do you
up.
get?
It's a custom menu tailored for me, so
Based on calories or ingredients?
by calories and ingredients. I don't tolerate gluten very well, especially in the summer, since it causes inflammation for me in my muscles, everywhere, even my stomach. I've got some minor stomach issues, so basically I have a guy who handles my health needs, and he's like a personal therapist, and if I need anything, pills, supplements, he orders everything for me. He also finds chefs for me. He found one here and another one in Boston before camp started. So Sasha doesn't have to constantly cook until we settle in and organize everything at home. It will take about 2 or 3 weeks to sort things out. If I need a psychologist, he finds one, a physiotherapist in Boston too. He handles all these networking needs for my preparation.
Okay, so what do you do after breakfast?
After breakfast, I go to
the ice?
rink.
Oh.
Tomorrow, for example, we'll hit the gym together, and then I have a skating session. It's about half an hour, and then I head to the ice ring. When I arrive, I do a 3-5 minute cold plunge, then warm up, gear up, and get on the ice in the morning.
And then
That's how it goes.
you go home to sleep?
Yeah, it depends. By the end of the week, I usually need rest. So on Thursday and Friday, I like to take an afternoon nap, but I also got to be ready for Friday night football, which is crucial. I got to be ready for it. Otherwise, it depends on how I'm feeling. If I'm really exhausted that week, then I'll take a nap. But if I'm not, I'll go play some golf or spend time with my family.
And how about during the season?
During the season, it's a pretty set routine. One day you practice, the next day you play.
So your routine has only changed in that you've removed meditation.
Different during the season. I have breakfast early, then gym, then ice time, and then I take care of other stuff and recover before the next game.
How do you like Boston?
Well, we were there for just 2 days. Like I said, you can't really explore much on road trips. Plus, these are mostly back-to-back games. So I haven't really had the chance to get the feel for it yet. It's a beautiful city. Everyone who's lived there only has good things to say. So we'll see.
Did you know that with your addition, Boston has become the tallest and heaviest team in the league? You're number one.
Really?
Do you think that will help you in hockey this season?
Well,
Plus, now the team is the most rugged too.
yeah, well, I've played in the West for the past 9 years, where hockey is more physical, like there is more hitting, there is more running, like constantly trying to throw other teams off balance. I mean, now it feels like what Tampa has been playing for the past 5 years. It's now shifting back east, and so I think Boston realized that they need to beef up a bit, which is why they brought me in.
Have you calculated how much of that $30 million will be yours after taxes?
Federal tax is 37%, and Massachusetts adds another 10%, so that's 47% in total. We did the first signing bonus in Florida, so I only paid 37% tax on that. So overall, it will be around 28. No, out of 30, sorry, it's actually about 17, 18 million after tax.
How about your pension? Have you calculated it?
Mine is at the max. You need 5 years in the league or 400 games for the max.
How's it calculated? Do you know?
Well, 5 years in the league and it grows. So
What does it mean at the max?
So it's something like at 62, you start receiving it, just like all Americans who retire at 62. You get 300,000 and some change. I was just at the meeting about this, 300,000 something. If you want to start at 60, you'll get less. And I think 55 is the earliest option, which would be about 212, maybe 80, 90,000 less than.
What does that work out to monthly?
Let's say it's 350,000 at 62. That's now. So by the time I'm 62 in 33 years, because of inflation and the league's growth, the pension won't be 350. It'll probably be 700,000 or 800,000 when I start receiving it.
You've mentioned several times in interviews that you have a specific breakdown of how you allocate your money. You've talked about being either 60-40 or 70-30, where 30 or 40% goes towards your expenses and the remaining 70 or 60% is directed towards investments. And now you're thinking, you've mentioned that the bulk of your portfolio is in stocks. Have you thought about diversifying more, like spreading your investments around, basically, splitting them? For example, putting 10% into real estate, 10% into the stock market, or maybe 15% aside for a rainy day fund, keeping it under the mattress, so to speak.
Well, I already have things pretty well diversified. My investments in the stock markets are there to stay for life, since there's no point in cashing them out. They serve as a safety net, plus you can leverage them for loans. If you ever need capital for a business, banks give you credit against those stocks, so whatever you might need, your stocks are still growing. And so I also have investments in real estate, which everyone seems to be into. I'm also interested in a few businesses right now. So the focus is on making sure that they don't take too much time away from hockey to drain too much energy. You've got to prepare for life after hockey, after all. Anyway, you see.
So you want to go into business after hockey?
Yeah, or something else. I'm still figuring it out. My main focus is on hockey right now. I have ideas and interests and desires. Life is great, and there are so many opportunities, especially in this country, and it's exciting. And I don't think those opportunities are going anywhere. Who knows what the world will be like in 6 years, what the markets will be. Maybe some businesses will become more in demand and making them smarter investments. So later on, we will see how things go. Live and learn.
What are some of your business interests? Like, which areas are you interested in primarily?
Well, I kind of have I have this dream to open my own restaurant, totally, like 100%. I want to make it happen. I think this field isn't going anywhere, so it's just my dream. I know it's a bad business. I know very few people make money from it, but well, I'm ready. It's like a quirk of mine. It will be fun.
Is it more of a passion project?
Yeah, exactly, like a passion. I just want to try it. I love restaurants, I love food. That's it.
What kind of cuisine?
I don't want to tie it to just one kind. Yeah, maybe something unique or a concept that doesn't exist yet. It depends on the timing and when I get to it. And the market trends of the time, of course.
Would you include Russian food too?
Russian food is quite unique. We love it. We love it because we grew up with it, we ate it, and we cook Russian food. But if we invite Americans to try it, it's still a bit specific for them. Like the dressed herring, meat jelly, they can't really eat that. Everything is with mayo, everything's heavy and flour-based. So I personally don't eat it often, maybe just indulge on special occasions, because it takes 4 days to recover from it afterwards. Unfortunately, because it's really delicious.
Where would you open it? Here in Miami?
I don't know. Where would be best? London, Paris? I'm not sure, but it really depends. Like I said, right now, at this moment, I'd open it in Miami because I think the market is booming here pretty much. There's so much going on, but people consume it all. Restaurants have been packed for the last 5 years. Whether it's Monday, Friday, or Wednesday, they're always full. So if you create a good product, I think you will find people who will come to you.
It's all air and it keeps the same weight. So like when you're using like say like weight, like it's heavier at the bottom. So that's regulated. So if it's 250 pounds, it's 250 pounds at the top, 250 pounds at the bottom. So it just safer for their joints, keeps them healthier. And it gives us like it'll give him a power number, so we'll know when we go heavier, I have to see a higher number or it's too heavy. So his number was like 1203, so next time we'll go to 275. And I got to see higher than 1203, and I don't want to see his last rep under 90%. Because it'll give you a percentage of like how fast he's moving.
Your contract was listed among the top 5 worst deals of June. Does that bother you?
Yeah, really? Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a ranking. Did you see it?
Well, I've been underpaid my whole life. Now I'm overpaid. I haven't even played a game yet. Come on, give me a chance, please.
Realistically, you boosted your marking value significantly with your playoff performance. And if that playoff run hadn't happened and you'd still gotten the same money, it could have been seen as an overpayment. I think that ranking was a bit skewed because of that.
Before the playoffs, they offered me $500,000 less. So didn't I earn at least an extra $500,000 with my playoffs?
You definitely earned it, no doubt.
Exactly, you see?
But you mentioned I get cocky sometimes. What does that look like? Say you have a run of 10 great games and score 8 points. And then what happens next?
8 points came not just because I'm having a good game, but because I pay attention to the details. During the game, I have certain details to focus on. But I have this bad habit. I tend to relax. Like, I get on the ice, I pick up the puck, I make a pass, and then just skate casually. And then I just catch up with the forwards. And then when the forward loses it, I don't have what is called gap control. I mean, I haven't closed in on the forward. And in the end, I end up giving him way too much time. I got lucky to end up in Tocchet's system with Adam Foote, and we worked a lot on this. It's that I always need to stay engaged, because being a guy, I tend to just kind of hang back and relax, but I need to stay engaged. I need to, if I make a pass, then I should immediately support the forwards. If I lose it, I have to quickly close the gap and take the puck back. It's always about staying in the game, constantly on your toes, always ready. It's super important.
So scoring points isn't really that hard, as you say. I mean, as long as you execute the details
In a good
correctly.
team, it's not hard. It all depends on the system and how well you adapt to it. For example, in Calgary, I adapted to the system pretty well. It was very fast-paced. You'd make a pass and you could immediately join the attack. By supporting the attack, you'd cut through two of their forwards with a single pass, acting almost like a fourth player that finds you. When I scored 14 goals in one season, 11 of them came from Huberdeau finding me as the third guy up, and I just keep scoring. In Vancouver, it was a different system. It was more about circling in the zone, and then they'd pass back it to the blue line. You'll have to get the shot past the player, which is honestly one of the hardest things in the league, because everyone is sprawling to block it. Getting there sticks in the way, and it takes real skill. Sergei Gonchar, who was in Vancouver, he worked with all the defensemen on getting that shot past the first guy. If you can do that, like Lidstrom did 150 times a game, you'd get your points because the puck either gets knocked or just goes in. For a defenseman, racking up points isn't necessarily the hardest part. You just need to know how to make it happen, have some skill. And of course, when you're in a good team with skilled players, you just make those passes, they score, or they set you up. In weaker teams, it's a lot harder to get points, which is just the way it is, yeah.
How much of a professional are you?
Right now, I'm really trying to be a professional. I still want to live my life and enjoy it, even if that means breaking the routine now and then. But as I get older, I realize, especially now that I'm 29, that the last 2-3 years and the next 2-3 years are the crucial foundation for my career. Because at 32, you hit your peak, and then it all starts going downhill. So everyone declines at that point. So these 6 years from 24 to 32 are incredibly important. It's about how you take care of your body, how you prepare, and how professional you are to ensure that your peak is as high as possible. It's about whether you can manage that decline, as they say. So it's not as a steep drop-off where you're out of the league for 2 years. Instead, you can extend your career and play at a pretty high level until 37 or 38. That's the main goal for me right now. I know that these next 3 years, just like the last 3, are going to be extremely important for that.
They say it's really important not just to make it to the NHL or reach a certain level, but to get there and consistently stay at that level. That's what truly shows an athlete's class, when they're steady, constantly good.
Yeah, and especially for defensemen, stability is crucial, and as a big defenseman, if I'm not stable, it's obvious to everyone. It's immediately noticeable if Zadorov is off or missing passes, not mentally or physically prepared. But I'm constantly working on that because stability is crucial in our field. It's also your preparation, it depends on it. You try new techniques, work with psychologists, doctors, and work out in the gym. It all builds confidence that you bring onto the ice.
Do you work with psychologists?
Yeah.
For how long?
I used to work with one when I had some issues. Then I stopped for about 6 or 7 years. I started again in Vancouver because they had a good team psychologist. Now I'm in Boston. I've found a sports psychologist to work with.
Why do you think this is important?
It's important for me because it's just that over the course of the season, your confidence can fluctuate. My problem is that when I play well, I tend to get cocky, and then
How does that manifest? Can you give an example?
I relax. I want to learn not to relax, to conserve my emotions. I realized that this last playoff run showed me how important emotions are in every game and how essential they are for me. If I'm not feeling emotionally charged before the game, there's almost no point in even dressing up. If I'm not motivated and emotionally charged, if I wasted my energy on something silly the day before or right before the game, I I won't have enough for the game and I'll play poorly. I'm not the type of person to just play for the paycheck. Like, if I got my money and that's it. If I feel like I'm not earning it, I tell them to keep the money and I go and do something else. Honesty is everything for me, really. Being honest with myself and everyone else around. I wouldn't be deceiving people like that.
Is that your main principle in life?
Yeah. Always speak the truth and say what you think, although sometimes you get flack for it.
Do you always tell the truth at home too, even when it's uncomfortable?
Usually it's the truth being told to me.
Sasha, right?
Yeah.
Talking to both you and her, I get the sense that having someone like Sasha around is really, really important.
Definitely, 100%.
I feel like a big part, a huge part of your success is, thanks to her.
I wouldn't be here where I am now without her, no doubt.
I think it might be even more than 50%.
It's more. To be completely honest, it's a true 50% because it's a partnership and we are both striving towards the same goal. And you set priorities and we set ours right at the beginning of our relationship. Everything was clear in terms of our goals. We just continued down that road and she's involved in everything. She doesn't hold back in everything I do. If she sees me playing badly or me behaving poorly, or if something's off with me, that helps me a lot, no question, 100%. It's important to me that she tells me the truth because I love speaking the truth, I love hearing it, and I'm not afraid of it.
I remember there was a playoff game. I didn't want to text you because I realized, there was agony in the air, so I texted Sasha. I said, Sasha, what a game he had today. And she replies, what game? Did you see him on the ice today? She's like, he was this and that. And I thought to myself, oh, wow. Really? She's constantly in that context, reading everything, knowing everything about everyone, following all the media and all the news. It's like having this massive hockey info hub at home, like having a coach who actually lives with you.
Yeah, Dan always jokes that he should hire her as an assistant scout.
She's really amazing.
Yeah, she gets it, She is from a sporting family, not hockey, but it didn't take her long to understand because she's been around it for her entire life. She's one of the few wives who sits, watches, and really cares. Some of the other girls will come to the family room to chat, have a beer, but Sasha watches every minute, worries about everything, and sometimes I even feel bad for her. I can't imagine how stressed she gets. I get anxious and nervous just by watching the Champions League, and she's always watching her husband playing in the playoffs. I couldn't handle that.
It's really impressive. And from an outside perspective, I think it's also really important to talk about this because there's a lot of young people watching, and nowadays there's this trend where the concept of family isn't really prioritized. There's more of a free-spirited lifestyle going on, with a lack of family values, to put it simply. But in your family, I love how you manage to keep that balance. Sasha takes care of the kids, she helps you out, and then there are moments when you support her. So how did you build this? What's the specific concept and approach behind this?
Yeah, it's really amazing. She's sacrificed a lot to make it all work, The household, the family, keeping the kids engaged, making sure that they get quality time, and she tries not to overload me. Since the season is tough, I need to recover, go to doctors, play golf, and keep up my mental preparation. She's the perfect wife, I'm telling you. I've known so many guys who tried playing in the NHL, but after a year, their wives say, oh, we can't live in America,
absolutely.
Let's go back to Russia.
Yeah.
And you think, man, this guy could actually play in the NHL his whole life. Like, come on, just find some clubs, talk to some people. You're working towards the same goal. It's important to him, so why not help? Plus, we have this agreement. I told Sasha, I'm playing hockey until I'm 35, maybe 37, and then I'll put all my energy and effort into you, whatever you want to do. I'll support you, help you with anything you choose. I'll be there for you. She gets it. It's a partnership. That's just how life is. We've been together since we were 16, and we've both been moving towards the same goal. We met when I was playing in London, back when I was nobody with no certainty of making it to the NHL. It's easier that way, but then you have these guys who already have money, they're older, they've been through a few relationships, have been burnt up a bit. They have a harder time finding the right person because there's always this suspicion. Is she with me for the money or for the love? It's like, what would she do for me? It's tough. But I was lucky to find the one early on, and we've been moving towards the same goal. There's a bit of luck in that, for sure.